I didn't know how you actually made a film, but I knew I wanted to make films. So we'd shoot in sequence. Me and my cousin Dylan basically would shoot. He had a really nice house in Williamstown, and we'd just shoot short horror films all the time. Doing all that sort of stuff was just ways to sort of learn skills up to the point where I could actually do something that could be usable. A few years back, I made a short film called Brethren.
Hey, sweetheart, good light.
With Glenn Maynard and Dylan. Stuart Simpson shot Brethren for us. He was cool enough to come along and film that we just shot for a day. And then from that, we eventually made Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla together, and that's where everything started. Me and Stuart Simpson were trying to make a film for a few years, because I'd written a script that I sent to him, and yeah, he liked it. So he kind of thought it would be cool to maybe do a collaboration on something. He put me. While we wait for these things to keep happening, why don't we just shoot a film right now? There was no reason not to. And at that time, we were in a share house. I was living in a share house with Stu, which is the house in Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla that Warren lives in. So we were living there, and we thought, well, now we've got a house, so there's a set. We knew we had Glenn Maynard because we worked on Brethren together, and we all had a really good time working together on that. We like movies about people falling apart, you know, and how can we do a film that's kind of about that? Basically, coming straight off Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla, I had like a lot of steam. It was like, let's just keep making films. It was exciting to make films at that time, and so we went basically, like as soon as I moved out of living with Stu, me and my partner Jasmine, who Jasmine Jacobi produced everything I've done, and she handles all the design elements of my films. We went straight into it.
I make movies about aliens, UFOs, visitors coming down to Earth from other planets. We got an apartment. We knew the whole film took place basically in an apartment, so we shot. So we knew we'd have a place to shoot, and we could also design it the way we wanted to. And that was really the kickoff point. It would be interesting to have a shot with a wall in the middle of it. I like that, and almost like a natural split screen, which I kind of liked. And then it was kind of interesting because I knew that I wanted the film to be set in an apartment, so you keep locations down. So how can I think of ways to keep two people in an apartment the entire time? I often like to do things that build to like either like a shocking act of violence or like an act of heroics or something like that. It can be something that is a slow burn up to something like that, and that was where I came. It was the two people between the wall and the idea of having a glorious a glorious moment out of leaving your apartment, and then the rest of it just came from there. If you look at the film, it's full of people that are from Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla in it, with the exception of a few, obviously being Kenji Shimada. I'd already spoken to him about doing a film. We'd already had a chat about doing a Yukuza film before, under a Kaleidoscope, and just really liked his attitude. And when he came in for the audition, he was the only guy, like other than giving the best audition, he was the only guy who came in pajamas. Kenji came in with this crazy hair and in pajamas, and he'd gotten like public transport in pajamas. So I remember thinking like, that's awesome that he did that, and I just thought that's, I think that's heaps of commitment right there just for an audition. He got the role because he was the best guy for the role, but that was something I really appreciated, and just working with him on Under a Kaleidoscope meant that like, okay, well now pretty much everything I do, he's going to be the guy in it because he's sort of he's my go-to actor. Tim's worked with me on a lot of things, so he was good. Other than that, it was, Aston and Kristen. I'd met them both on Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla. And Kristen I'd really met very briefly. Like we had a chat in the morning when she was waiting at the house to go do her scene. I just got along with her really well. And I just thought, oh, she'd be really good to think of. And I did know her work prior to that, but I'd never met her. So I just thought she'd be really good. And then as soon as this role came up, like she was basically the first person I thought of. I just thought, yeah, we should, I wanted someone who would just commit 100% to it. And yeah, she's one of the few actors I know that I feel like in everything she does, she seems to, it's all commitment. Look, it took a long time to shoot, but basically, I was working a full-time job, so we'd shoot on weekends and sometimes weeknights. But every time I got paid, I'd just keep paying for the movie to get made. So we ended up probably spending, I normally say $10,000, but I don't think it was. I think it was probably closer to about $8,000. Feeding the crew, we bought some things, like we bought our sound gear rather than hire it, just buy it. So then for the next film we're good. We bought some lights which we thought we could continue to use, but they all got broken on the film. We were thinking it'd probably be about 12 to 14 days of actual shooting that turned into 28 or 29 days of shooting that had to then go over like 8 months, because we'd have people go away for 3 weeks. So then there's 1 month you're basically not shooting and things like that. So it just went for such a long time that it was, I always felt good about shooting, but I could tell the people around me going, when is this going to be done? Because we would have periods of time where things wouldn't happen, I'd make sure that I'd edit a lot during that period of time. So the next time they come around to shoot, I'll go, well, here's an edited version of what you've just shot. So if you're feeling like there's no end in sight, have a look. This is what the film is starting to look like. And that would often get people a little bit more excited about it. In 2014, we got to screen Under a Kaleidoscope at Monsterfest, which was, still to this day is one of the best things I've experienced as a filmmaker, was watching it with an audience, and it actually did get I think a pretty good reaction, and it was really exciting to watch. And basically that came about from being friends with Neil from Monster Pictures. And Neil and Grant are guys that I've known for a while, and me and Stu had already spoken to them about other projects and things like that. So they were keeping up to date with Under a Kaleidoscope. So as soon as they knew that we were looking at having a cut of the film, Neil said you should enter it into Monsterfest. It was a really nice way to see what worked and what didn't as well, in a way, because it was really nice to be able to walk away from that edit and know where things could be cut and where things could be sort of a little bit longer or bigger moments out of things. So that was a great experience, and that was the first screening of the film in 2014. I had that title in my head, and I just thought, if a movie came out called Mondo Yukuza, that would be a film that I would have to see. And then once we had the title, I knew there were other people I wanted to work with again. So obviously Kenji, it was written for Kenji to play the lead, but I knew I wanted to work with Sky again, Sky Corvin, aka Sky Medusa, who I worked with briefly on Under a Kaleidoscope. Just had such a good time working with her, and she's really passionate about making genre films, and he's really passionate about genre films, so I knew, well, I can get them too. And it could almost be like a sort of Japanese version of El Mariachi, where you just have big on ideas, low on budget.